mean, I think what we did was a very good challenge. I think we did a pretty good job on it. We overcame the difficulties, but there have been other great challenges that people have done on the oceans and on the mountains and in the Arctic and so on.
Sir Edmund Hillary and guide Tenzing Norgay reached the summit of Mount Everest on May 23, 1953. Since then, over 2,000 others have followed their footsteps up. Well, that should not trivialize the feat. Each year, the mountain claims its victims. Joining us is one of the top climbers in New England. He is Dr. Tim Warren, and he is preparing to climb Everest next March. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, John.
First of all, we'd like to say that you're not just doing this for yourself. Tell me about the charity work that you're doing this for.
No, my choice of charities this time was a short list, and I'm working with a local Rhode Island charity called A Wish Come True. And they're a wish-giving charity. They raise money for very sick children to have a wish. And they work with all of Rhode Island and also nearby Massachusetts. A great organization. All
right, let's get into some of your background. How long have you been climbing, and what are some of the summits that are really impressive?
I've been, my parents got me started on this many, many years ago.
Your parents?
Yeah, they weren't into technical climbing, but we always camped and we always hiked every time we got a family vacation. But the last 10 to 12 years, I've been doing some pretty serious technical climbing. And I've knocked off 3 of the 7 summits of the world. The 7 summits are the highest mountain in each continent. So Africa was my first, and then Mount Denali, which is otherwise known as Mount McKinley in Alaska. Took me 2 tries, went with a large guided group in 2000, got stuck in a high camp for 6 days, didn't move from there, had to go down. And then I went back with just my good buddy and myself in 2004. And we were lucky enough to get up and be the tallest thing on North America.
Unbelievable.
And that was 2. And then this past February, went down to Argentina to a mountain called Aconcagua, which is the highest mountain in the Western Hemisphere at about 7,000 meters, and had a good experience down there. Long, hard climb, but made it down safely.
Why Mount Everest? The big question, why?
Well, since I've done the 2nd hardest of the 7 summits and the 3rd hardest of the 7 summits, it just is the natural progression of things at this particular stage to go the 1st hardest.
All right, I want to talk about some of the challenges that Everest gives you. And the first one, obviously, is the lack of oxygen, the highest place on the Earth. And a documentary I saw you recently said your blood can turn into the consistency of motor oil with the lack of oxygen. How do you compensate for that? How do you deal with it?
You drink a ton of water. You ascend very, very slowly, no more than 1,000 feet a day on average. You rest a lot. You eat a lot. You eat whatever you feel like eating. You just have to get calories into your system. You have to stay within yourself psychologically and keep yourself low stress and just be ready to accept a lot of hurdles along the way, psychologically as well as physically.
Physically,
go slow.
Physically, the hurdles, the ice fall, which I was reading about.
Right.
It's glaciers that aren't quite right and aren't quite stable, and you have to go over them with what looks like aluminum ladders.
Right. You climb up, under, around, sideways, and these are constantly falling like bowling pins. And so people travel in the middle of the night where it's the coldest weather, when things kind of freeze up solid and move a little less than during the heat of the day. So you're up at, you're leaving at maybe 2 or 3 in the morning and getting through and down and done when it's frozen as solid as possible.
Rick Riley recently in Sports Illustrated challenged Everest climbers, saying, or had quotes from people saying that it's gotten too commercial. It's a circus now. Let's take that first point. Is it a circus now?
It's a great challenge, and it always will be a great challenge. It's a tremendous physical and mental battle, and that's why I do it. I love that physical challenge. And actually, this climb is going to be a win-win-win. It's going to be a win because certainly it's something that I want to achieve personally, but also for my group, A Wish Come True, and also as a practicing chiropractor in Rhode Island for the last 20 years, I've found that it inspires my patients and people that I know in my community to get off the couch.
Okay.
To do something, to move their body, and the body only works right if it's used, not abused, but used. And so it's a kind of a win-win-win as I see it.
And as somebody who's on the couch, you're not missing anything. So best of luck with that. The other big challenge that Riley and the people he quoted pointed out is that people aren't really looking out for themselves anymore on the mountain, because he called them trophy hunters. They just want to get to the summit. So if they pass somebody who's in trouble, maybe even dying, they're just they're just passing him. What are your thoughts on this?
I can't conceive of passing somebody who's in trouble. You would have no thoughts. Anybody that I've ever climbed with would have no thoughts of the summit if we were past somebody who was in trouble. The problem is there's gray areas up there. Two of these subjects that I'm well familiar with on the north side of Everest this past year, for all intents and purposes, were dead. They showed no sign of life, maybe a slight pulse, but as a matter of fact, in one case, a Sherpa poked one person in the eye, and there was no response, which means essentially you'd think that they were brain dead.
Unbelievable.
And fortunately, one of those people woke up miraculously and was rescued, and the other one's passed away. So there's gray areas here.
You'll keep us posted on
I
your
will
travels and your
Absolutely.
training. And thank you so much for coming
Thanks
in.
so much
Really
for having
appreciate
me.
it, Doctor.
Appreciate it.
Best of luck to you when we return.